Hello everybody, Christian from Treasure Town here, and today we're going to be speaking about the 1922 S Peace Dollar. There's a lot to learn about this coin. We'll start with its history and the values, both of the series and this coin. Then there's about 4 major VAMs. These are little varieties that if you look closely for, you might be able to find that will make all of your coins worth well above what a normal one without the VAM would be. And then we'll go into some mint errors from this date and mint mark. So we'll go over, so right here, 1922 is the first date that these are going to be made with this specific type of relief, which is a lower relief. 1921 was the first year in general for the Peace Dollar series, but there was a very different obverse or front of the coin. And it was also the first time that they were minting them in San Francisco. That's why there's this S mint mark on the back. They were made to commemorate the peace following World War I, and they also were struck in a big way to help Britain, which people had spread rumors, the Germans had spread rumors that Britain couldn't make good on its promise of silver-backed currency, so that was causing some problems in some of its colonies, and we sort of stepped in the United States to help them out since they were our ally and make sure that they had enough silver where they would pay us the cost of minting it and shipping it and the dollar per coin, and then they would get the silver to make sure they could back that guarantee. They minted from 1921 to 1928, and then again in 1934 and 1935, but after that they sort of phased it out until 1964 when they struck a bunch of them, but those were clearly going to be more collector-based coins, and people didn't like that, so then they melted all of those down, and no 1964 peace dollars are known, and when they did circulate, they would circulate a lot more in the West, because people didn't trust the paper currency as much. Now, like I mentioned, it was the first year that San Francisco struck the peace dollars, but in the 20s, in general, they had some pretty poor quality. So the strike was not that good. They were often then put into bags of 1,000, and they would be shipped across the West, and it wasn't like a nice plane ride or somewhere where the coins wouldn't bump around. These were often transported by rail. So there's not very many Mint State 65s, and you'll see that in just a moment, that they can get quite expensive. And you know, there's a lot of basically Mint State 63 coins, and even few 64s. And a lot of these were released into circulation because people didn't really think that they were rare. They were tough to sell in the 1940s and 50s. So as a result, we've got pretty valuable Mint State 65 coins. You can see here, you know, there were 17,475,000 made, so that's not a rare date by any means. One of the most produced, in fact, you know, across the whole series. But these are like $30 coins or $40 coins in AU. Mint State 63 jumps to 100. Then you have a big jump to 250 in Mint State 64. Very different from like the 1923 or something, and then you get all the way up to $1,200 for Mint State 65 and $20,000 for Mint State 66. There are no known Mint State 67 coins. This is just a function of the overall poor strike and a lot of transportation and handling of the coins afterwards. Now, I don't have tons of price history from these because there's only 2 certified, but the first of our VAMs is a big rim cud, so it's pretty noticeable. If you've got it, it'll be quite valuable, I can promise you that, because these cuds are often well collected, especially on a big series like the Peace Dollars. Same thing with Morgans. Nice cuds bring quite a lot of money, so that's something to look for sort of at a little bit, maybe like 10 o'clock by that United in the United States. Then there's also going to be a tripled reverse. You can see here clear separation in all of the sort of feathers by the eagle's sort of talons and feet a little bit above there. There's going to be these talons clearly, or these feathers that are clearly, I would say doubled. It's easier to see the doubling rather than tripling necessarily. But you can see that the value's pretty high, $600 instead of like $100 for Mint State 63, $1,500 for Mint State 64. I don't think that we've found any in Mint State 65, but that one's well known. This one also over-polished rays. There was sometimes some dye polishing that might remove an imperfection, or for whatever reason, the dye that is used to then strike the coin gets polished. This is VAM 5A. And sort of brings off some of the rays between the O and the L. Again, only 6 of those are certified at PCGS. Not a huge amount of price history, but definitely one to look for, as it's one of the Elite 30, which is basically just lists that sort of, those are the more valuable or sought after ones. And then we're also going to talk about the extra ray. This isn't a huge value difference, but Mint Say 63 sold for about $200. The left, we've got normal. Look at the A. You can see one big ray and one smaller ray peeking out. Then when you look over here, you've got sort of technically 3 rays. So you've got the big one and then the smaller one, and then you have this other a little bit less pronounced, but clearly there, and it's not on the normal ones. So yeah, it's aptly named the extra ray. Then in terms of some of the mint errors, this is just a testament. This is one of the most valuable peace dollar mint errors anywhere, but it was 1922S. It was struck 15% off center, sold for just under $40,000. Pennies that are this off center may bring modern ones like $5 or $10, but the dollars were often minted to a high quality control sort of. People cared about minting these nicely, so maybe this was done on purpose, but for whatever reason, it exists and brings a huge amount of premium. Then we also have this 1922S AU coin, so maybe it circulated a little bit, but it's a broad strike. It's been struck out of collar, meaning that the retaining collars were not there, so after the strike, the metal sort of flows outward, and you can see that here very clearly around the rim or around the edges here. The metal's all flowing outward, and it's totally abnormal compared to the average coin. This one sold all the way back in 2002 for $2,250, and I'd imagine that would bring a good bit more today, because there's very few of these errors, so it's tough to find. I more show them as novelty and like a cool thing you could be looking for, as opposed to actually finding it. This one, much less off-center strike at only 5% off-center, but still sold for north of $5,000. So again, this is really something to be on the lookout for. There's a lot of potential. If you find one of these, you're going to be in great shape. Hopefully you can do it. This one also did not circulate, so these are probably not going to happen, nor will the broad struck one, but you can certainly think about finding some of these VAMs, as they're often not as searched for even on the 1922 or on the peace dollars compared to the Morgans. There's a fair amount of VAMs to cover, so not everybody knows them, but these are the ones on the main list that are certified at the grading companies. So best of luck finding these, and whether it's learning about the specific date info or something else. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching the video. I'd encourage you to like the video, comment, and make sure to subscribe to my channel. And I also have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and some other social media platforms. You can also go to my main channel website, treasuretownYT.com, to learn more about the channel and sort of stay in contact. I also will eventually host all of these videos on coinsmetalscards.com, which will be both news, marketplace, and coin information. I do have the goal of eventually getting pretty much every US coin, date, mint mark, denomination on the channel with a similar video to the one that you just watched, and that will likely all be hosted there. And then I also have treasuretowncoins.com, which is sort of my coin dealing wing, coin dealing only entity that is a little bit less focused on content production. So thank you so much, and I'll look forward to seeing you on some of my other videos. I also have videos that are not just the date, mint mark, denomination recap in this format, so you can check some of those out, and I'll have fun seeing you there.